weaknesses are not real. Now, what do I mean by that? What I mean is that weaknesses aren't this airy-fairy thing where it's like, oh, I have a weakness. Oh, my life's over. I have a weakness. What can I do about it? I can't do anything about it. Blah, 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 blah. Pobrecito. Not like that. Okay? That weaknesses are not real in that sense. However, weaknesses that do exist need to be dealt with, and there's three different ways you can deal with them. One, you can turn them into a strength, weakness to strength. Two, you can deal with the weakness and fix it. Or three, you can cover over the weakness. Now, I'm going to use basketball as an example here because sports are really good for articulating this example. Really good, but this applies to everyday life. You need to approach it in three different ways. Let's say an NBA player who's really bad at shooting threes. He can cover the weakness by getting really good in the post. Now, obviously, you need the size in order to do that, but or maybe he gets really good at passing too. He gets good at everything else in order to cover up the three-point weakness to make up for it. Or he can attack the weakness directly, where he trains, spends all his time training on threes. He gets good at threes. Now the weakness isn't there anymore. Now, for this specific example, the third method doesn't really work. I mean, I don't see how we could turn the weakness into a strength. Maybe he could deal with the weakness and then use a reputation as a bad three-point shooter in order to, flip it on them. Made a video about exploiting your reputation in the past. But when you look at these examples, look at the three options: weakness to strength, dealing with the weakness, and covering the weakness, and see what can be done. Because in that case, I mean, there's really no exploiting it and making it a strength as opposed to a weakness unless you deal with the weakness. So, look at what can apply to your situation. Look for the best possible option. Because in some situations, it doesn't make any sense to do some of the options. For example, let's say little Timmy has a little speaking impediment and he can't speak English properly because he's mentally retarded. You don't want to, go like, oh, well, I'm just going to say really nice things while having this voice and people will like me. No. Maybe some people will take pity on you, but no one's going to like you if you talk like that. You sound like a retard. I don't want to hear that. In that case, you would need to work on your speech, tongue twisters, whatever works for you. For me, I used to slur my words all the time, like a sped. But now, I don't do it anymore. Why? I trained it. I dealt with the weakness. In that situation, covering up the weakness doesn't really make much sense. I guess you could exploit it and turn it into a strength if you did like comedy, and that was your whole spiel. I know there's that one guy. That one comedian who just sounds like, well, what's his name? Gottfried, whatever his name is. His whole thing is he sounds funny. So he could have either dealt with that weakness and actually, started sounding like a normal person by doing vocal exercises, but instead he decided to turn that weakness into a strength by having that be his whole spiel, or being fat. Now, I do not advocate that you do anything other than deal with the fact that you're fat and actually lose some weight. But I mean, there's that one Spanish comedian. I don't know what his name is. Gabriel, I think, something like that. He's fat. That's part of his spiel, right? Because there's three different ways. Let's look at being fat. Three different ways. One, you can deal with it and lose some weight, which is what you should do. If you're fat, don't go for the other methods. But some people have, and they've seen some level of success. You can be the fat, funny guy. That's covering up the weakness. Or being a comedian. The fat, funny guy. That works, I suppose. Or three, you can cover it up. Which depending on the way you dress. Depending on how fat you are. But if you dress in a certain way, you can hide the fat. Or, I guess being the funny fat guy kind of covers up the fact that you're fat. So, I suppose that works as well. But deal with being fat. Don't be like, oh, well, I don't like going to the gym, so I'm going to eat another pizza, and I'm just going to be the funny fat guy. Don't be the funny fat guy. The funny fat guy is not respected, truly. They're just clowns. In any case, weaknesses aren't real.